Hello everyone, this is your captain speaking. This flight is going to be taking a little bit longer to start up than usual. Everything's working fine and absolutely nothing is currently on fire. I can assure you everything is not on fire. I'm still getting things set up here. Yeah, it's a normal day here. And to the people who have joined so far, hello. Raise some highs. Anza and Chris. I'm naturally inclined to think that's a Tales of Fantasia reference, but perhaps it's not. Oh, Discord's being stupid. Oh, Discord's being very stupid. There's not a day that goes by without something going wrong. Okay, now this should actually work, thank God. Other than that, everything else should be coming through. That should be this. Good. You... Ooh. That's what I get for trusting things. So where the fuck is Soundbox right now? What do you mean I can't have my memes? That is basked. 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 Shit. Wow. Everything's falling apart. Okay. Okay, that's mildly frustrating. All right. Oh God. Is this CS2? Is this that Valve game that the kids be talking about? No, it's just Seong. Group. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, just making sure that I haven't like forgotten any other places to spam, that I'm actually live for the first time, because it has been a long while since I have appeared. I think we should be fine. All right, nothing blew up there. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another installment of whatever the fuck this show is. The only place in the internet without massive layoffs happening as of late. Though we might be going into bankruptcy. Except, no, we're not. This isn't even a business. What am I talking about? Hi. Hello. It has been a while. I think it is fair to say that, yeah, it's been a while. Somehow, I never had any problems. Just making sure. Where the fuck is my microphone right now? Oh my god, you can't make this shit up. Apparently we can't have nice things here because I can't. Where did the microphone go? This is... Where the hell did my microphone go? I don't understand. I don't understand. No, the line supposed to be here. What? Obs. 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 Even when I'm trying to introduce myself, it manages to somehow make things just more difficult. And it's just how it is. We have to live with that. I hate it. So I love how... I love Linux sometimes. Although really this is more of an OBS thing. Is that copium? You be the judge. Hi, hello, and welcome everyone to the only show on the internet without massive layoffs going on lately. I have no idea why the microphone decided to just phase out of existence when I switched scenes, even though it was just working earlier. Magic. Anyways, how is everyone doing? I hope I'm coming through well, because I have had... Surprisingly enough, I've actually tested this stuff in advance to make sure that everything was as good as possible. And I only know that because I have brought with me some memes.
What's this?
There's some people in, so that's good. Okay, that's good. It's very good. Wow. Jesus Christ. The last time I have been on, I think, was like 2 months ago, I'm pretty sure, which was the last time I streamed. I think that was like the week after I had made the first part of that Linux series, which, funnily enough, is the thing I have been working on as of late. I've not been just sleeping this entire time. So, just in terms of like things that have been happening as of late, Why is it I can't focus right now? Scatterbrained. So I have been busy with a lot of stuff with life as of late, so aside from actually having to care about mental health for one thing, I've actually been going to therapy a lot lately, so that's been helping. Also, it's been kind of taking my mind away from video stuff as I've been trying to evenly split up my time a little bit so that I don't go actually insane. Which has been helping, I'd say. It's been helping a little bit. Aside from that, it's been a lot of coordinating a bunch of other things behind the scenes for future projects. So right now, I don't really want to go into too much detail about the other stuff that's happening, but it's safe to say I've been extremely busy as of late, and right now I've been trying to finish up. Well, I started this somewhat recently with the second part of the Linux series, which is going to be talking a lot about Steam on Linux specifically, which is going to be great. Lost my train of thought again. Great. So working on stuff regarding the Steam on Linux video as I actually start talking a little bit more about gaming on Linux stuff. And wouldn't you fucking know it, that very recently, while I was in the middle of making this thing, we suddenly had news that the EA decided to pull an old EA again. And for some fucking reason, well, so I guess I should preface this with saying that yes, we're going to be talking a lot about anti-cheat, but I don't think anti-cheat in of itself is necessarily like that much of a plague on games or anything. I'm not necessarily like the most well-versed in it, but I do know that they definitely have their place. What doesn't have a place, though, is discriminating against Linux users and effectively making it so that a game that used to work perfectly fine on Linux before doesn't work anymore. Battlefield 5. A game that I don't know how many other people here actually play many multiplayer shooters, let alone Battlefield games, especially Battlefield 5, because 5 in particular has had kind of like a rocky history, and justifiably so. It came out around right after the whole Star Wars Battlefront 2 EA debacle. Never forget about everyone's sense of pride and accomplishment, which is just...
Shut up!
So... But like up until this point, a lot of EA games, though I have a lot of comments to say about how awful both of their launchers have been. Both of them. I will say that the experience of getting their games to work on Linux has actually been the smoothest out of like all of the other like alt store, not Steam game stuff on Linux. Generally, you're trying to get like EA games to work. They don't really need extra dependencies generally, and they pretty much work out of the box ish. Up until the EA app launcher came out, the launcher hasn't generally been that much of a problem. I have found a way to get Origin, the previous launcher, to still work currently, which I'm pretty sure you can find that somewhere on the internet if you look hard enough. Yeah, just wow. I lost my train of thought as I just realized some other technical bullshit's going on. Thanks a lot, Pipewire. Oh, now it appears. Thanks. Wow. Amazing. So anyways, getting EA stuff to work with Linux has generally not been a bad experience, aside from their launcher just being awful. But then again, whose third-party app store thing that isn't trying to be Steam isn't awful? I'll wait. But EA has recently announced basically that they're trying to retroactively fit their EA anti-cheat, EAAC, not EAC, easy anti-cheat, as in the one that actually works on Linux natively. No, EA's AC, EAC, but worse. Got it yet? So they've been retroactively putting that into the games, and EAAC, sorry, doesn't quite work on Linux. In fact, it just straight up says that it doesn't support Wine at all, which I'll get to that. Oh boy. I'm watching okay, so it's 1 o'clock in the morning with 3 exams waiting for me tomorrow, and I'm watching a random guy on the internet talking about Linux. I love the internet. Thank you for your support. Anti-cheats have a place in gaming, but a kernel level anti-cheat should never exist. I'm getting booped still. I feel like you can go forever about the debate of anti-cheats, and I'm not necessarily going to say I'm disinterested in that, but it's also not my place, because this is kind of the exception of a case of I personally had somewhat of an investment, of a time investment. I have somewhat invested myself into Battlefield 5 personally, which is not something I really do, but Battlefield games I think are my kind of stupid, dumb multiplayer fun. So to have a new piece of anti-cheat installed retroactively into the game that not only breaks it, but intentionally breaks it for Linux users is awful, in my opinion. And I'm not going to be here to say, oh, it's just another EA thing, because I'm going to be one of the people to say that EA has actually been doing at least half decently as of late. So the fact that they're doing this now all of a sudden, especially when Apex Legends, one of their other biggest games, is famously a Steam Deck supported game, and you know they're doing this to their other not Apex games. You know, the favoritism that Apex Legends has gotten from the company, frankly, kind of frustrates me as someone who has more of an attachment to Titanfall 2. But that aside, oh my god, I'm getting beeps now. Oh no, I'm getting... Should have put everything on silent before this. Train of thought. Get an Xbox Series X to play your crap on if you need a rootkit installed to play a game. I think that's an extremely defeatist and not acceptable kind of response to be having, because I am not buying extra hardware when I already have a perfectly functional PC to play these games on. Goodies! I've been looking into trying out Linux by the end of the year, but I might try part of it earlier with the Steam Deck I am getting next month. I am glad I found the channel some time ago. Thank you very much, Clocks. Yeah, thanks for the support. Yeah, I would probably say, even though I don't have a Steam Deck yet, though I am desperately trying to get my hands on one soon as I can. Although that said, I also have to kind of split that because I also need to get a lot of other upgrades for the PC itself. Storage, RAM, stuff like that. But I really do want to get my hands on a Steam Deck so I can properly talk about that, because I think that is going to be the de facto gateway drug, in a sense, of getting people into Linux gaming, because it really is the most streamlined of the streamlined. Even taking Steam on Linux into account, the deck experience is going to be more streamlined. Now, it's not going to help when you have random publishers try to retroactively throw in shit that intentionally does not work with Linux when the game ran perfectly beforehand. And I used footage of Battlefield 5 personally to prove that works, and it just renders it null and void. No, I'm not bitter. What are you talking about? Me? Impossible! Oh, I still have desktop on. God damn it. Ooh. Yeah, the point is, Steam Deck is great. This anti-cheat stuff is not great. My issue, thanks Rogue One, my issue with kernel level anti-cheat is that it doesn't stop cheats any better than a non-kernel level one while introducing a bunch of extra security vulnerabilities. Yes. Yes. Because the problem is, you can't really stop someone from just loading the game in a VM. Cheating is always going to kind of be the cycle, and I just really do think... Okay, so here's my problem, and I actually have the picture here. I do have the actual image that's used, because I caught it earlier. Should be able to find it. I believe it's this. Nope, that's not it. And was it? Oh, I guess it'll be one from today. This one. Oh, that means it probably showed the boy thing earlier too. That's funny. Another client thing with enhanced security that does happen to work on Linux. Funny that. Anyways, this is part of the box that shows up when you actually try to get the game, when you actually try to boot up Battlefield 5 now. Actually, I really should get the full error message, but... That's the actual full error message. So, this is the box that tries to pop up now when you try to launch any game that is enabled with EA's anti-cheat system. The fact that it not only has to have that... not only does it error on Linux in general, but the fact that this exception has to specifically point this out, that Wine specifically is not supported, is the part that angers me most. Because I have been kind of getting into a little bit of code recently, against my will, granted, but I have been getting a little bit more into programming, and one of the things I've learned is that when you're handling error messages, you usually have to know what those are and pop those up. You have to make special cases around a lot of these errors. So it not only tells me that they specifically felt it necessary to have this type of error be fatal enough to pop up this kind of window, but they went out of their way to point out that this game that used to work in Wine before does not anymore. And just saying, hey, we acknowledge it. You're probably trying to play this on Linux. Fuck you. That is the most disrespectful part to me. And I'm sorry, but I'm a little bit frazzled by this. It's truly awful what they've done to a game that I've actually quite enjoyed playing, and that said, I do have Battlefield 1 and 4, sure, and those games do still work, sure. But for how long if they're going to be doing this retroactively to a game that was released in 2018? I have to keep remembering. Because it came out the year after Battlefront 2. It's really fucking dumb. Make sure you don't cheat at video game soccer. Ah, yes, the gambling machine. We love those. Allegedly, Riot's Vanguard actually works pretty well, but they allow Mac to work without it, so that's a bit of a hole. Heavy emphasis on allegedly, of course. So that's funny how Riot, I guess, allows Mac users to play. You know, if you think that Linux gaming is a niche, what about the 1% of gamers, of the 1% of the Mac ecosystem? Also, the what is it, like the 10% of the x86 Mac ecosystem? Because I don't know if Riot's games work on Apple Silicon yet. I imagine they might, but whatever. But like the 1% of the 1% of like Mac gamers, which feels like an oxymoron to me. They allow those users to play the game without cheats, but apparently Linux is too letaxor to get the same treatment is kind of baffling to me, but you know, what do I know? I am not a multi-million-dollar corporation, and you know what? After all this, nah. No, I don't want to deal with that. It's like complaining that a Genesis cartridge doesn't fit a Nintendo. So, no, that isn't the problem. It's actually what it really is. It's more like, hey, you have a Game Boy game cartridge that fits in a Game Boy Advance. But oops, we made this cartridge so funky dunky, too big for the Game Boy Advance to fit into GBA, but it will work into Game Boy. It's kind of more like that, because Linux can support Windows games surprisingly well, which is the big problem with this, is that hand magic. It's just the point that EA games worked. And in some cases, they at least their developers went out of their way to help support Linux, but now they just don't anymore. And Battlefield 5 wasn't specifically one of those games, but it was one that had to have been popular enough. So, you know, and just kind of dismissing it as, oh, it's a Windows game, not a Linux game, so what else do you expect? It's like, it's kind of missing the point. It's kind of a bad way of going about it, in my opinion, and that's just something I won't accept, to be frank. Linux games has so much potential, and just the fact that this kind of stuff is happening is really frustrating. Are you talking about Roblox? No. Am I talking about Roblox? Nah. I guess this kind of just turned into a whole thing about kernel level EAC. Oh, cool. It's the same error that Destiny 2 gives you. Actually, to be fair, I'm pretty sure the Destiny 2 error is specifically, this does not work on Steam Deck. Which is even more baffling. You know, you do you, Bungie. Yeah, I would be interested in playing some of your games. Granted, I played Destiny 2 before and I just wasn't interested, but like, I would have if you at least gave me the chance. the fact that some of these companies will go out of their way to support Mac over the Linux platform is just really baffling, because I feel like there's more Linux gamers out there than there is Mac gamers. Like, Linux gaming is a meme because it exists, but it's always been tiny. Mac gaming is a meme because it's never existed. Yeah, somehow letting it silently fail rather than actively detecting whine feels like it would be less disrespectful, at least. Yes, that is exactly kind of the thing, is that they acknowledge that whine's existence. They acknowledge that it was used to play these games. And they just say, nope, we don't care. Nope. No fun allowed here. Just really dumb. Again, given the history of the game itself working before. And you know what's also really stupid? Is that Battlefield 5 actually has a server-side anti-cheat solution too. It uses Fair Fight, if I'm remembering correctly, which is a completely server-side solution. So unless they either shuttered that or they're just adding more shit on top of it, is also extremely baffling. But what do I know? I'm not a cheats guy. I don't give a shit about cheats. I barely know how to cheat. So, you know, it's just one of those things where I guess we can't have nice things or something. So are we too big of a user base of cheaters that it's a problem? Or are we too small of a user base to not bother supporting? It can't be both. But it's like, what about Windows? Windows is a great place to write viruses and write your cheat solutions. And that's the fucking main platform that these games support. What are you talking? It's like, it's
As the president of a major corporation, I have to do that every day.
That's the wrong button. Thanks, Seto. You know what the fact is that, oh god, I've been getting back into Yu-Gi-Oh lately, and the saddest part is that Seto Kaiba actually, for as stupidly hammy as a not really kind of antagonist, anti-hero, something like that, rival, for a big dick corporation guy, he actually makes a lot of these corporations look good, and I think that's not accurate at all, because it glorifies shitty corporations. Except that if the world actually did run on card games, I think that might be a net positive, but, you know, what kind of world do we live in? We don't deserve nice things. Now, I noticed that there's something here talking about the Steam hardware survey, and like I already talked about this before, that the Steam hardware survey is something that can be easily rigged, and I just don't trust that. But it also does make a point that in terms of general user population, there is on average more Linux users than Mac. Also, the fact that that Mac gamers that actually have Steam might also be a minority, because most Mac users don't, from what I remember, most Mac users don't generally go outside of the App Store. I mean, unless you decide to not buy anything off the App Store, but I'm not the person who told you that. But like, as far as I know, most games on Mac might be on the App Store, or like the indies are probably going to be on Steam on the Mac. But again, the idea of Mac gaming is still very oxymoronic to me, so that's funny. But again, just the fact that they have some kind of population that plays on that platform, that they're okay with not having an anti-cheat solution on, but the other platform does kind of start to make what Ren says make sense. Like, is it too big of a platform to ignore? So then why are you just putting them down like that? Shouldn't you like try to support them a little bit more? You know, it's that kind of situation. Linux isn't American enough, because everything good comes from America. Ben Affleck would be ashamed. I had to ask it, lol. You get the same wine is not supported error in Roblox. Is it the same one? I don't play Roblox because I'm not a supporter of child labor, but does Roblox use the exact same kind of error? I imagine it because it's a different anti-cheat solution, so it looks different, but the general gist is that it also has a wine is not supported error message. Which is weird, especially in the case of Roblox, because at least some of the community managers and or developers of Roblox have vouched for Linux solutions to play that game themselves. Food for thought. Most Mac gamers I know are on truly ancient Mac Pro machines. Huh. So what, are we talking trash can Mac Pro or some form of cheese grater? I mean, those trash cans have got to be useful for something. The anti-cheat used to work in a different way on Linux, but someone used that to reverse engineer it, so yeah, rest in peace.
Check it out. It's easy.
I don't know. No comment because I don't support child labor with Roblox. I know BattleBit is a cool game, but that's not a Roblox game. It just looks like Roblox. Although that is also the other big Battlefield alike that is out. But there's like also a lot of other things on Steam I really want to get to. Like I've been going into Going Under as of late, which is a fucking fantastic kind of, because if you're like me and you really hate the state of big stupid corporations doing dumb shit, Going Under I think is like the fantastic kind of, it's practically made for you, at least assuming that you enjoy Zelda-like roguelikes with a bit of Dead Rising on top. And also Tai Lopez. I really wish I was kidding about the Tai Lopez part. You know, the thing that you really need to know is I have all these bookshelves with my lack of books that I keep with my Ferrari, as you do. And you know the one thing I like more than materialistic things? Knowledge. The concept of, is this running on wine, is pretty trivial to implement, so the errors being similar isn't at all surprising. And yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, because there's probably, no, I know for a fact there's a lot of dead giveaways on if the environment that it's running on is wine. I think there's a lot of dev giveaways for that. Assuming that you haven't like spiked your prefix with like almost all native Windows components, which generally isn't recommended. You actually don't need to do a whole lot of override. You don't need to like install a whole lot of native libraries into a wine prefix, but there's still telltale signs. So it's not like it's impossible to tell, but it's still just the fact that they've discriminated this population of users that have been able to play this game before. Is still generally a problem. Like, it's very discriminatory. Also, port deck users. I don't know what the statistics are on, like, the deck players that actually have managed to load up, like, bottles on their device and have these alt stores installed as non-Steam games. I don't know what the statistics on that are, but I have to imagine it, you know, it has to be somewhere in like the hundreds, maybe the low thousands of people who've done that, because it's not that hard, all things considered. Especially with EA Origin, that isn't very hard at all. So, like, for what it's worth, getting EA Origin installed in Wine is basically like it just works out of the box. So, Yeah. So anyone want to chat about dope games that don't actively shit on Linux players? Could be a fun conversation. I mean, I already mentioned earlier, like, there's... So, Going Under is a great game if you really like that kind of social commentary, mixed with, like, an actually genuinely fun dungeon-crawling roguelike. That is a fantastic game and just works out of the box. The entire Dark Souls series and Elden Ring, I guess, also happen to work on Linux just fine. Apex Legends works just fine. Every single Call of Duty up to and including Infinite Warfare and World War II all work fine. That said, don't buy a single Activision game ever, and don't support Call of Duty because Activision are jackasses, and just don't do that. Never forget boy. Never forget boy. Now, Heroic is actually a great launcher, and that is, once I'm done talking about the Steam Linux experience, the next thing I want to do after that, so not the next video that I'm going to do. So the way that that's going on right now is the general order is I will be... So I'm making the video about Steam Linux gaming now. After that, I've honestly considered making a small commentary video exactly about this Battlefield 5 nonsense, given that I actually do have experience playing the game, enjoying the game, and feel affected by this. Also, I have sent EA a refund request for breaking my game, and I actually haven't received an email about that since. So that's going to be, you know, fun content, even if it's not the kind of thing I want to make, but I think it's something that should be said. But after that, I will be doing a couple of other videos more just about video game stuff, not necessarily Linux focused, because I really had to take my mind off of doing nothing but Linux stuff, even though it's all going to be... It's going to mention Linux at some point. That's just what's going to happen. But I have, like, a couple of videos that I want to make about, like, peripherals and controllers, because I think that would be a really fun thing to do. I have too many of these things, of various controllers, you know, Neo Geo, 4 bright buttons. Saturn controllers, Wii Classic controllers, PS3 controllers, DualSenses, Switch Pros, 8-bit DOS. Got a lot of comments to make about those, so I want to be able to talk about that. But after that, at some point, hopefully by the end of the year, I should be able to talk about wine gaming. And with that, that's definitely going to focus a lot primarily on bottles and Heroic. And probably Lutris, because I was using Lutris a lot before, but then at some point I did switch to using bottles, which I have generally come to prefer, although I think there's a lot of problems with bottles that I definitely want to make note of. But, you know, talking about Lutris, probably bottles and Heroic in my stuff about non-Steam games. After that, I will definitely be talking about the, I guess for lack of a better word, the Technoparrot scene, the arcade, the Windows arcade game dump scene, because despite what some of them might say, those can totally work on Linux, and it's another one of those cases of technologically and practically, the games do work on Linux, and not with a lot of effort. It's just that the developers don't give a shit, and kind of acting, again, a little bit dismissively, if not somewhat discriminatorily, of Linux gamers. And that's definitely something I want to be able to talk about. But that's going to be more relevant when that actually comes around, so, you know, plans. I solved that issue with one machine having a partition for Windows. I use it to stream it to every other machine in the house, TV deck. So that would be fine if you had a second PC and the parts to run, and also were comfortable with the Windows machine. Because honestly, I know I did a stream. The last stream I did was actually about the whole Windows experience. My God, the Windows experience fucking sucks nowadays. I know that there are a lot of people who are super familiar with it, and it's cozy for them, and it's totally something I respect. God, Windows is just such a garbage onboarding experience. It's a garbage way of handling defaults. Such a garbage way of handling not even privacy. Just get the nagging shit out of the way. I paid $100. I was one of those fools who had parents that paid $100 for my copy of Windows, like, all those years ago. I would really like to not feel like I was running a freemium app on an iPhone. Yeah, I usually try not to bash on Windows that much, but you know what? Sometimes it just has to come out. Okay, so I know for a fact that Cyberpunk is a game I've wanted to play for a while, but I also just do not have the hard drive space for it. You would be surprised how little storage space I have, despite having, like, what is it, like 4 terabytes-ish on this system, but most of it is mechanical storage, and most of it is being used for video scratch storage space, basically. You know, for my projects, that's where I have to keep the video files and stuff. Yes, running, like, 4K video files off of a spinning hard drive is kind of torturous, but that is the life I have chosen. Until I can actually get myself, like, an SSD. Because I will... And it's that whole balancing priorities thing. Need a SNES Super Scope if you don't have it. I love that thing as a kid. Well... Do these count? You know, light guns in general are pretty interesting, I'd say. Hi, Linux Gamer. Oh, hello. Irrational being. 4K video with uncompressed audio for DaVinci Resolve? Yes. Because blame Resolve Free Edition for not providing a library to read AAC audio or literally anything else aside from uncompressed. Like, I have labbed this shit. I have tried several different combinations of codecs all in MKV. And the only combination that's ever worked consistently, so right now what I do is, since that last stream, I now encode my videos in AV1, which is a slight bit slower than what I was doing before, which was uncompressed video in FFV1, which is FFmpeg's lossless archival format. I've just decided to kind of sacrifice just a tiny bit of the quality, extremely negligible, and just use AV1, which is a little bit slower to encode because I don't have an Intel graphics card, and my NVIDIA card, specifically a 30 series, does not do AV1 encoding. So it has to be done on the CPU. Somewhat slow, extremely good storage usage though. Like, if I'm going to say, if you're going to get a combination for video editing on Linux, compressing your videos to AV1 but with uncompressed audio is the way to go. But no matter what, I can't get anything other than uncompressed audio to work for video files. I can get FLACs to work as music files. That's what I use for my music tracks. They're all in FLACs. I can get FLACs, I can get waves, I can get MP3s. None of those, except technically wave. Technically wave, but, you know, uncompressed. None of those except uncompressed audio work with video files. I don't know why. That's just how it is. So, that's fun. I like Bottles more for the way it does stuff, but I like the user interface of Lutris more. So there's a lot of things I do kind of prefer about Bottles, mostly in the fact that because I have used Linux and Wine for a long enough time, I have kind of gotten used to the workflow of working with Wine prefixes. And so Bottles not hiding that fact away from me and sort of embracing the Bottles metaphor for managing Wine prefixes is preferable to me. And also just installing dependencies is so much easier because they actually have a front end for common Wine tricks usage, which is really good. So that means if all you need to do is you just need to click a button and it installs the thing. It might prompt for like the install windows after the fact, but you go through that and it just fucking works. You know, you just got the dependencies installed. It does that. Problem. Bottles doesn't have a sorting feature. No sorting whatsoever. There's no sorting in Bottles lists, and there is no sorting in the fancy library view whatsoever. And I only know this because I actually went to check if there was an issue about this, and there has been a pending issue regarding Bottles and its lack of sorting functionality for, what, 2 years at this point? So that's fun. At least Lucius will let you sort your games by name. From what I recall, the way Bottles does it is it's basically just reading the configuration file for your prefix, which stores each entry as a hash, and it just displays it in the order that it reads it in, which is basic, but I can understand that. But, you know, no sorting at all makes it a real problem. Actually, let's just show that example here. Let's get Bottles open. Wait, I have window capture right here. What are we doing? Fit to screen. All right, so is the microphone work? Okay, the microphone's at least still working here. Thank God. That's better. This is a window capture window, is it? Let me just remove that and put in a window capture unit. Should be this one. Okay, that took longer than it should have. Okay, so just as the example, here's my bottle setup. It's not much. This is pretty much more, I put the majority of my game entries in. Test is just for testing purposes. It's essentially, this is just a clean prefix. This has nothing in it. Launchers is the one I specifically use for Origin and Ubisoft Connect, just because for no other reason than sometimes these can be a little bit fucky. So in the case that I need to reset these, I don't have to also reset the entire prefix with the rest of my stuff. And WMV is just for the special cases of games that have WMV video files, because they require an extra special prefix with a bunch of other bullshit. You know, a lot of video redistributables. But this is kind of where the bulk of my games are in. I can manage to get this to run all in a single prefix, and that's just how I do it. Problem is, you can immediately see there is no sorting. You know, O to T to T to B to T to M. It's a mess. And even when you go to the library view, there's still no sorting, you know, G to T to F to T to J. It's not practical whatsoever. um so yeah, that's fun. So like I do much prefer the quote-unquote workflow of bottles, but it really does need a bit of work. Just with that sorting stuff. I was just reluctantly defending that 50% RAM usage on Windows is likely misleading. Wow. I don't necessarily think, because I have seen Windows's RAM usage. Generally, it sticks to around, from what I remember, it was like 4 or 5 gigabytes, maybe 6. I don't know why this... Thanks for not showing. I don't generally think Windows RAM usage is like the worst thing in the world, but there's a lot of extra bloatware that usually comes with stuff. So like the NVIDIA drivers, for example, it has the entire GeForce utility. It has the whole GeForce experience. It also has the share interface and like a bunch of NVIDIA background tasks, which are totally just more avenues for telemetry and collecting your data, which is awful, but, you know, that's just how modern software is. AMD has their, like, I think it used to be Adrenaline, I think, and now it's, like, a different Radeon stuff, but, like, Radeon utilities are also a thing, which uses quite a bit of memory. And then, God forbid, if you have RGB... And if you haven't used OpenRGB yet, and if you're using, like, proprietary, you know, custom tailored RGB software for your Logitech mouse, your Gigabyte board, your fucking Corsair lights, that's a mess. Like all this other bullshit that you have to have, you know, if you care about that kind of RGB control. So it's not bad out of the box, but it builds over time. Meanwhile, when it comes to my Linux setup, even right now, if I was like, shut this thing off, you know, I'm done for the night, and I turn it back on in the morning and, you know, boot it up with like, you know, and have it running like Steam in the background and Discord. With Steam and Discord running, it may use 3 gigabytes, maybe 4. On Windows, that would be the 5 or 6. That might be about 5 or 6-ish gigabytes of RAM being used. Of wham. Discord is bloated. Change my mind. It is. I think everyone's agreed that it's bad. I haven't used Windows since 2011-ish, but I assume you can see its memory usage plus minus FS cache, and I'd interested to see a clean install / boots usage. I would really love to be able to show more direct comparisons, because when I first started this channel, when I was doing the first Linux video all the way back in the end of 2022, I actually did have a Windows partition at the time, at least halfway through when I was making that video, so I was able to get footage of my Windows install at that time and compare things more directly. I can't really do that right now because my storage usage, frankly, just really limits me in like having extra operating systems. But what I would like to do at some point, if I ever happen to get the free storage, is I would like to have Windows loaded on a separate drive, get like a small portion of games that I can like use between the two, you know, between the two drives, because they like their different file systems, and though you can use NTFS on Linux, it's really kind of a problem. I would like to be able to compare the two more directly again, now that I have this new hardware. I just can't do that right now, so unfortunately I'm just going off of vague memories at this point. I do try to cross-reference with other people who do use Windows more daily, so, you know, like, more of the computer tech channels that mostly cover things with Windows. I try to cross-reference with that material just to make sure. And in fact, that's a lot of my source usage that I use to demonstrate Windows. Is gonna be that. But yeah, I just can't do that right now. I'd like to at some point, but storage, and I have to be careful with having it on its own device because Windows loves to eat your whole bootloader if you install it first or if you install it last. It does not respect what bootloader you have. It just eats right through it. Which, you know, what the fuck is consent? That's Electron in general, to be honest. I kind of hate it. I really hate web-based anything these days. And that is why I have insisted that for my programming, my personal programming needs, for the few things when I use make desktop stuff, I just use Qt. Qt and C++. That's all. Like, I already kind of know a little bit of C++. Qt has its problems, but I would much rather have a 10 megabyte I would much rather have a 10 megabyte native application than having to distribute 400 megabytes of Chrome just to run a 5 megabyte Hello World. It's also me because I'm very much a stickler. I'm a holdout of the old Twitter gang that used to use third-party clients. Fun days those were. CPP is pretty decent. But also I'm not the biggest programming fan, which is weird because that's what I have a degree in. It's also weird because I didn't personally, even though I did graduate from college with an associate's, I didn't actually get to learn any C++. Mainly what I learned was Visual Basic. Yes, Visual Basic. And this was 2016, mind you. And then mostly Python and Java. And a little bit of assembly, which was really fun. The assembly classes that I've had, paired with being a big fan of Game Hut. I'm a big fan of Game Hut. John Burton, the guy who was, I think still is, like an advisor, was the director, one of the founders of Traveler's Tales, who is kind of just an advisor for them now with their Lego stuff. He does a lot of interesting things about old console game assembly stuff, and it is fascinating. Even if I only barely understand some of it, it is super interesting stuff. And so, ironically enough, when I was watching that stuff at the time, it kind of helped me through my assembly class, because I kind of started to learn a little bit of like the essentials of assembly, even though assembly does change between processors. So, you know, they're talking about Sega Saturn, and here I am programming for x86. Wah. But hey, that's coding nerd shit, and that's not something, and I know for a fact that's not something that the majority of people are interested in. I am more than aware of that. Ironically, if Vulkan works, you may be able to use a DXVK DLL to implement DX12. I know DXVK native exists, but DXVK is specifically up to DirectX 11. DX12 and VKD3D specifically, I don't think that has a Windows native compatible thing. Or maybe it does exist, but it's even less supported than DXVK native. So I'm not sure about that. Or DXVK for Windows. DXVK native is a different thing. Stuff. Any Rust devs in the chat?
A locked door impossible!
God damn it. Hate it. Microsoft makes DirectX 12 and Windows, then why it can't get it implemented perfectly? You would think that if Microsoft are the ones that controls their whole software stack, that maybe, just maybe, they would get it to work. I know that there's a lot that goes into Windows, but seriously, the amount of stuff that just doesn't work very well with Windows, even though it's all built in, is astonishing. Anyone who's messed with mixed reality, can we please get some people in the stands who use mixed reality? That stuff barely worked on Windows, and that was a Windows exclusive thing. I only know this because I used to use mixed reality. And mixed reality is dead now, so, you know. Take it. This is another thing alongside Android for Windows 11. I don't understand them sometimes. Why is it always doubled when you use those clips? Because Sound Ducks is stupid. I've only just started trying to use Sound Ducks, and for some fucking reason, what it does is I have it set to go to a specific audio sync right now, but it also likes to hijack my microphone. I don't know why. Actually, I do know why. It's because it's set to the output application to use OBS. So when it hooks into OBS, I just forgot to turn that off when I booted it back up. It's really stupid. But yeah, lots of stuff that Microsoft makes nowadays just it astonishes me, the kind of things that they start putting into Windows 11, like Windows 11 these days. Isn't half of the stuff basically just AI at this point? It's really annoying. Mixed reality seems like I've seen somewhere. You know, mixed reality is something that is like a legend that people tell you and it really doesn't exist. You're just being gaslit. It never existed. Neither did Clippy. AI seems to be alternative Google to me. No, here's the thing. When Google gets a result wrong, you can tell it's obvious. When AI gets a result wrong, you have to go research if that AI is inherently wrong about that thing. Like, it's not obvious at all. And, you know, the way that they, you know, even when AI is wrong, they will still probably insist that it's right and not give you the tools that you need to find out. You know, they don't really provide sources. Which I feel like for anyone who's looked in a Wikipedia article for any kind of research should know, cite your sources and refer to those if you actually need to do research. You don't just take the Wikipedia summary as your source. It's all AI and ads. It's all AI and ads. It's all it is. It's fucking ridiculous, I say. According to the 2 Minute Papers channel, at least for my sources, I made it the fuck up. It's fucking great. Oh. That's fantastic. It's fantastic. Why? Why? They should make it free then, and make it ad supported. That's almost like what I've been saying this whole time. Look, if you want to do an ad supported operating system like what Windows is, I think you should make it ad supported. Just make it free. Just drop the pretenses that this is any kind of like, that this is at all a premium product. Drop the fucking, get off your high horse and just make it free already. Microsoft already uses. Oh, it's playing one of my favorite songs and I can't get it to actually. Oh, it's too quiet. Oh, rip. Yeah, if you're just gonna release an ad-supported product, just make it ad-supported and make it free. I would have no problems at all if they were upfront about that. It's the fact that it is a full-price product that they expect you. Now, granted, I do know most people probably use keys. And they probably get them off the back of some fucking truck down the road of New Jersey. And don't actually pay the real big corporation all that money. They just get it for like $5 and they just activate that. And then Microsoft just lets them through anyways because it's literally more trouble and more money it's to shut down fake keys than it is to just drop all customer service responsibility and just let them through. Like, this is actually something that Microsoft has done before. In fact, I'm pretty sure they have legit used open source piracy tools. But, you know, if they just dropped all of that and made it free to start with, like what they're basically treating it as. Oh, I get it. It's because Audacious keeps switching in and out of players and it's being stupid. Okay. But, you know, just make it free. If you made it free, at least then the ads would make sense. But no, you don't decide to do that, Microsoft, because they want money. Or something like that. You know, that's like the popular conspiracy theory, I'm pretty sure. Oh. It's funny. So yeah. That's just what they do. Thanks, Microsoft. Can't make it free. Must charge for the commercial license. Isn't Windows basically free for end users already if you want it to be? I know they still charge for OEM licenses, which most consumers will pay for, but I thought you could just get a license. I mean, effectively, if you go to this video sponsor, VIP's keys up my ass, and get it for like $10, it's kind of free, I guess. But again, there's also open source piracy tools out there. You could do that too, and they won't really give a shit. Especially because the Windows license itself isn't the real moneymaker for them. It's usually all the add-on shit. It's, you know, getting you onboarded onto Microsoft Teams and getting into the Microsoft Office suite, getting you into Game Pass, because you know you want that Game Pass subscription, right? If you want Game Pass, you want to pay a subscription for Microsoft Solitaire Collection? The card games that used to ship for free on Windows. I'm seriously gonna punch Audacious at some point for being a piece of shit. Yeah, it's like that's just what they do. subscription for Solitaire. See, I'm fine with MS charging whatever they want for Windows and peripheral services. I ain't gonna buy it, so screw it. I mean, I personally don't think it justifies the ads either way. Because again, when I used to use Windows XP, Windows 7, even Windows 8, for all of Windows 8's problems, it didn't have the ads issue. Now, I don't know if that necessarily applied to if you were using stuff from the Microsoft Store. Still. I think Microsoft made some banger games like Purple Place and Pinball. I think Purple Place is the only one that they actually made, though. Because I think it's... If you don't know this already, 3D Pinball Space Cadet actually isn't Microsoft's property. It's actually a demo. It's effectively a shareware demo of a game called Full Tilt Pinball, which was released by Sierra in like the late 90s. I think it's Full Tilt Pinball anyways. But basically, it's just like a single board out of like a collection, like a 3 pinball table collection. But because everyone had Windows and XP and stuff, and they didn't have Full Tilt Pinball, then people remember Space Cadet, but they don't remember any of the other boards. So, there's that. Maxis, I'm sorry. You know, for some reason I get Sierra and Maxis confused a lot because I honestly don't know. I know the differences between the companies, but for some reason in my head, I get the ownership thing mixed up. It's also been a while since I played 3D Pinball, so ignore that. Difference between publishers and developer, though. I haven't used Windows since 7, other than debugging shit for friends and family, so I've only heard how bad it really is. So, let's see if we can open up an example here, because I think this is really special. Man, that choppy ass transition, I'll never get enough of it. Let's see if we can do this. Should be the right one. There you go. Let's... Nope. Hell is it again? Fuck. Whatever, I'm sure I'll find it. I can't search up myself, thanks. I'm sure I can just search it up myself and it should be able to appear. You know, I always find my own videos when I'm trying to research other stuff on YouTube. But now for some reason, I can't seem to find it. I can't find it. There's only soup. There's only soup here. Really isn't hard. It's like, goddamn. It's like, do we really want to talk about how awful the Windows installation experience is? Also, totally a bit of Inception here. This is still current as of now. They don't allow you to actually set up the computer without doing so the same Windows 11 workaround that they had you do where you have to like basically make a junk account. You have to do that on Windows 10 now. That's just a thing. They just added it retroactively, and I don't understand why they did it. Oh. It is awful. It's totally Inception bullshit right now. But yeah, you have to flood it so that you lock the mystery account that actually hasn't been created yet, and then it'll let you use your local sign-in. That is something that happened. It is awful. Yeah, transition to the right place. So yeah, it's fucking awful, the current Windows install experience. They tainted Windows 10. Just the fact that Windows 10 had to get enshittified, even though I would still personally say if that anyone doesn't want to use Linux, that is perfectly valid. They should use Windows 10 for as long as they possibly can. But now Microsoft's making it harder for them, even though they are not officially going to support Windows 10 updates anymore, by making the experience as bad as Windows 11. I don't understand what their plan is here, aside from frustrating people into switching. I wouldn't be surprised. Can't you just not choose a network and it will make a local account? So the problem was that this was happening in a VM, but the VM connects the network adapter to the virtual machine, so it thinks it's online perpetually. And there wasn't really a way to change that because I was doing that live on the stream. I was making that VM live on stream, which is why it was such a problem getting it to run in the first place. And so no, I couldn't disconnect it because usually you're just supposed to disconnect the internet and just not use Wi-Fi. Actually, no, you have to disconnect the Wi-Fi physically so that it doesn't even recognize it, and disconnect Ethernet. If both of those are disconnected, then you can skip to just making a local account. If any of those two exist, you have to use Wi-Fi, or you have to use your network, and you have to make a network connected account. It sucks. There is a way to bypass all, no. I know what you're doing. I know what you're doing there. Stop. Stop it right there. Windows users do not get to say that you can avoid this using a command line command. That is the biggest problem that people have put against Linux, even though it hasn't even been that true in the last year. You don't get to say that you can skip things easily with a command line, because that is not easy and it is defeating the point of using Windows. Rant. And by the way, I'm pretty sure it's registry bullshit now. I think if you do a physical install on a PC, if you deploy the Windows installable media with Rufus, Rufus will do the tweaks for you. And so it'll allow you to skip straight to local account creation, but only if you use Rufus. Not everyone knows how to use Rufus. This wasn't VirtualBox, for the record. This was not using your VirtualBox VM, because I tried that earlier in that stream and it was also giving me problems. And also, talking about things retroactively doesn't usually help the problem. I think most power users would know how to do it, though, and most power users would know how to use Linux. I'm sorry, it just doesn't work that way. Most power users can avoid the bullshit, but most people aren't power users. I think myself included, because I still don't know everything about Linux. I didn't know everything about Windows. And also, just because you're used to the bullshit doesn't necessarily make the bullshit go away. That kind of just means you know the bullshit to get around it, but it doesn't help for people who don't. Yeah? It's the principle of the thing. Why does it have to be a requirement? Ventoy is objectively better than Rufus, and that's also, I didn't even know it existed. I am familiar with Rufus because that's what I used. And that's what a lot of people who makes bootable drives on Windows would use, I imagine, is Rufus. I am also not the best judge of character, so don't take my word for it. Windows, make it worse because most users won't resist. So the problem here too is that this also makes the assumption that people on Windows don't hate this shit too. They also don't like what's happening with Windows. They don't like the Windows bullshit. They hate it too. It's just that a lot of those people also don't want to or can't make that transition because of their workflows and stuff, which is also a perfectly valid thing. For those people who have already decided that they can't step away from that Windows only workflow, so that's what they use. They're aware of the bullshit and they don't like it either. So that's why I want Microsoft to fix that for their consumers. Fix that for their core audience so that, you know, they can get their work done too. They're also people, you know? It's just like, I don't advocate for like the downfall of Windows or for people not using it at all, because it's obviously going to work for people. It works for people, and I want them to be able to have that experience. But if they can't get that experience, then perhaps the alternative might be better in some ways. They might think it's better, they might not. I don't know. I try my best to make the transition over to this Linux alternative a little bit more palatable. I try to make it make a little bit more sense. Try to make it a little bit more fun. That doesn't mean I don't think Windows should exist. I just think it shouldn't be bad. But asking Windows to not be bad is... You just can't do that. Can't do that. That's illegal. You're going to jail. I just don't like the practices as much as the next guy. It's ridiculous. I feel for Windows users. I feel for those users who genuinely think it's an experience that should be better for them, but they just can't fucking do it because it won't let them do the thing that they just wanted to do. Yeah. That's how it is. That's how it is. You know what? Yeah. I honestly do think, comments aside, Glover is actually kind of a good game. It's kind of a meh game, but I like it. That's a game that Glover is one of those games that I also had as a child, and I don't know why, but it seems like a lot of people in the 90s who grew up with the N64 also inexplicably had Glover. Like, it's not even the best game of the console, it's just something that everyone had, because I guess gloves are cool. Even though it's not trying to be cool. But it kind of is cool. Glover's kind of cool. Don't tell him I said that, though. Yeah. Oh. Why is there a Ko-Fi bot here? What the hell is that? Oh yeah, by the way, so I guess I should also say that I have recently gotten monetization for the channel, so I guess I can roll ads, but I choose not to roll ads anyways. I only do it for the biggest of videos, just so that I can try to get a little bit of a cut from it, but I think anyone who watches this stuff should, I think, be aware of the other options of ad block, and so I trust them, you know, to do with that as they see fit, you know. But if you happen to think that it's worth supporting, then, you know, donation box over there. Not trying to show too hard, though. It's kind of cringe, not gonna lie. Yeah, use ad blocker because YouTube sucks without ad blockers. I don't understand how people use YouTube without ad block. Your channel. Oh God. Okay. I have used Linux sporadically in recent years, but I always return to Windows 10 for a game or some other reason. Microsoft with Windows 11 is really forcing me to migrate to Linux permanently. Your channel has contributed a lot of influence towards it. Love from Uruguay. Oh, that's cute. Thanks a lot, Guaitan Guidi. Oh God, I'm fucking this up. Guidai? Gidai. I'll just stick to that. Thank you, individual on the internet that's on my little PC. I very much appreciate the support regardless. I guess speaking of Guai games. I've mostly just been talking because I'm not gonna lie, I really not that I'm itching to necessarily, but I do want to get back soon into video editing stuff. But also I do just kind of enjoy having these kinds of chats, even if there's no games being done, because I just don't have the attention span to be able to like hold a conversation and also play a video game at the same time. I think I've done that before already, and I do an awful job. I rarely find people that genuine like Windows 11. Everyone has coping mechanisms to use Windows 11. That is unbelievably true, and I think even most Windows users would probably say that they just tolerate it. Which is kind of why I switched in the first place, because I kind of figured it was better for my mental health. I don't know. It's just like, it's a thing that you're kind of obligated to use. You know, that's why people joke about they like using computers, except they don't. They actually, real people who like using computers actually fucking hate their computers. You know, they say you like PCs. Where are they so I can kick their ass? PCs are kind of a piece of shit, and Windows makes it more difficult sometimes. Although that's speaking for me personally, because I myself don't get the same value that I used to out of Windows. Because again, a lot of it, my experience was from the early versions of 10. I was generally, you know, wasn't the worst thing ever, but just because of Windows 11 and the fact that as of streaming right now, I think there's only a little over a year that Windows 10 is actually going to be an active service, and then after that they're going to shut down the updates. Although you can continue to receive extended support for, what is it, like a $10-$20 subscription? It's really fucking stupid. I mentioned earlier, I think you'd enjoy Turing Complete, hardware CPU design game that eventually has assembly you run on your CPU you built. It's great. I appreciate it. I also have like a million different games I have to get through my backlog. So, sorry. But yeah, I have a lot of other things. I definitely, if because we mentioned Tales at some point before, if there's one thing I want to get to is Balatro. And I only know I'm going to like Balatro because I have spent way too long playing the various revisions of poker in most of the recent Tales games. And so I know for a fact that basically just taking that and gamifying it to hell and back is already something I'm already going to be like, I'm going to get lost in. So I'm going to hold myself out on getting a Balatro. As long as possible, because otherwise I'm never going to come out of that. I'm going to be stuck playing that game. I just know it already. Although that being said, Pav_live, or just Pav, more simply, he did a like thing of playing Balatro recently, which I highly recommend. just because he is a stupid individual that also happens to use Linux, and I think he's a fun dude. And funnier, for the record. But yeah, I'll get to playing it at some point. When? You know, surprisingly for a channel that tries to talk about games, I've only ever talked about just games only a couple of times. Most of it's been about Linux. God, I haven't done an actual game video since GoldenEye in like the early summer of last year. That was a thing. Computers are fancy rocks that are made to do math by holding lightning. Brother. I actually had a friend a long time ago, a mutual, who... who basically described computers exactly like that. They're just rocks we tricked into thinking. And so when you put it that way, hey, it's a lot easier to hate them. That's some Dr. Stone shit, and I love it. Lotro is definitely something I have to get to. But yeah, assembly is fun. Although I think, knowing from my experiences with programming so far, I'm still not quite sure if that's something I really want to dedicate myself to doing. Especially because I think doing that, a lot of what I'm doing now, I think, is trying to be in service to the Linux community specifically and trying to make things easier. But I think also getting too deep into programming might kind of defeat the purpose of the idea of a regular gamer trying to introduce other people to Linux. So I'm trying not to get myself too deep into the weeds with that stuff, because I know it can go so much farther and I'll basically never have time to do any videos at all. My viewpoints are going to change. I kind of don't want to get to that point yet. I still have a lot of stuff to talk about, so I don't quite want to get to that. I missed Yay. I don't know how people find it so infuriating it doesn't have any other app except Chrome. I'm gonna guess someone mentioned Chrome OS. Oh, Chrome OS, yeah. Chrome OS, right. That's a thing. Chrome OS is a thing. It's Chrome. I already am inclined to hate it. I don't like Chrome very much. I could not take up for that one. My D&D DM came up with that. Just have me play test whatever you make. Don't worry, I'll break it. Well, that's an optimistic way of saying it. Oh boy, after this, I'm gonna have to really reconsider my music playing, my music player option, because the fact that Audacious just keeps fucking disconnecting and I have to keep restarting my Pipewire graph is getting really frustrating. I'm sure there'll be things to playtest soon, but that's gotta come in like a couple of months. I still have shit to get through. I have to get through these videos. I really have to get through these videos. You know, trying not to rush myself, because I know I've had a kind of a shitty winter and mostly stayed in the house. I barely left my house. It is quite literally just a fucking Comey panel right there. Oh no. Chrome OS Flex. My god, I should have a Play Store. Sometimes that's what people want or need, you know? Then why didn't you install them a Linux distro? Also, you can install a Linux container on it, so it's actually quite flexible. So I can't even speak on Chrome OS stuff because I just don't, like I said, I'm already inclined to not like Chrome, and I haven't used Chrome OS since high school. Which, now that I think about it, makes me sound so much more like a Zoomer than I actually intended. Chromebooks only really started getting big in like my senior year of high school, back in 2015, 2016. So I only got to like see it right as it was coming into popularity. I haven't touched a single Chromebook since. So I only know them for having stupid like rocket ship processors back when those were like garbage. Wait, things to play test? Is this numbnut making a game? Not a game, but a thing that you can play games with. Soon. I have a lot to talk about those. It's not making a new node for every song, for the record. It's just disconnecting for some reason, and like the node just disappears entirely. Linux Mint Cinnamon is also simple and easy to use if you're just using Chrome. Isn't Linux Mint Cinnamon in general is pretty simple. Now, I recommend Linux Mint. I do not personally recommend Cinnamon for now. Cinnamon in its current like X11 state does not have a way to disable the compositor effects. And so because of that, Cinnamon is actually not very good for games because it will have a performance overhead. But when it transitions to Wayland, even though I said I won't talk too much about Wayland for now, but when Cinnamon Wayland comes out, that will have support for direct scan out, and that means it won't have the compositor performance overhead. At least not anywhere near as much. So it'll be much better then, but that's then isn't now, and now it's not something I recommend. But Linux Mint as a distro, so very good. I just recommend that you would use like the XFCE one, or I forget if it has a Plasma or if it has like a GNOME spin. I know it has XFCE. XF's pretty good. Go XF. Okay, I'm sorry. I deal with the music troubleshooting after when I can actually like troubleshoot it. Speaking of Blatro, I'm gonna go play some Blatro. It was fun hanging out and chatting way too much. It was great having you around. Thank you very much for being around to chat with, really. You know, to help you enjoy your card infested hell. Goddamn, that game is, if you really want something that's probably gonna suck away all your time, if it's not going to be going under, I would say Blatro. I gave up on Wayland when I video card. So, actually getting into that a little bit, as I did say, I'm not going to get into Wayland too much. But the NVIDIA problems with Wayland are being resolved within like the next month. The next driver version that's coming out is basically going to solve all of its problems with Wayland. So everything else that comes out afterwards, you cannot say that it is an NVIDIA problem then. It is definitely going to be mostly Wayland problem then. There is a lot of problems with Wayland. So NVIDIA is not bad. Like, I keep having to stand for it, even though I'm pretty sure it makes me come off as like an insider for Jensen NVIDIA, even though I don't have a 3080 Ti. I have a 3060 Ti. I haven't received a goddamn penny from NVIDIA. I'm just saying that my experience with NVIDIA has generally been very positive. Except for the Wayland stuff, but Wayland wasn't really ready then. But NVIDIA is being fixed on Wayland. That's great. Wayland still isn't really going to be ready by then. It's still missing things like global hotkeys and support for the apps that I use, and a mess, and that's why I just don't want to talk about it, because if I do, that's going to open up a whole can of worms I really don't feel prepared to deal with. So that's kind of what's going on. Mint controversy. Oh boy, can we not get into like distro politics again? It's like generally just use the one that you want. I know I've made some comments maybe about Manjaro on some occasions, but it's like even there are some people who do use Manjaro and that's fine. Don't be the Linux person that's like, oh, use X or Y or Z. There's only so many times you can pull that card before you just realize it's not going to help anything. It can help some people, but it doesn't help a lot of... It doesn't help all the time. So I would just rather not with that. So... Wayland's fun. Head to RMA by 3070 and got given a 4070 tie back from the supplier. I prefer geopolitics over distro politics. Any fucking politics is better, and that's coming a lot. That's saying a lot for me because I fucking hate politics. Oh my god. Has Discord not put me on fucking streamer mode for some reason? Because I'm still getting pings. Ah, thanks a lot. Let me just... on that. There you go. Ping, 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 ping. Microphonics. Speaking of things that I've made earlier... because I took out all these controllers and I haven't put them back in their respective places. I think we are going to actually play a goddamn video game. Probably won't be SA2, although I think that could be fun to do at some point, but I do kind of want to play a game that I know I can actually beat tonight. So that's why I'm plugging in my classic controller into this contraption that I made a little bit ago to adapt it to a PC. That's going to be a fun part of the controllers video, I suppose. Now let me see if I can get Retroact to cooperate. Let's see how well this works. Ah, okay. So if it's doing that, let me see. Can I do a game capture from here? Or is that just not happening? This is fantastic. Ah. I think it's... God, I enjoy slide music so goddamn much. It's been a while since I played those games. Those are very good. And it is not cooperating. I could just do this as just a window, but probably won't look great. If nothing else. This is weird. You see, this is why I probably should be doing more game streams more often, because I actually come prepared for this. I do remember that this is the thing. Oh, it's literally just run OBS VK capture? Okay. Just run that. Oh, thank God it worked. Okay. It does work. Yay. But oh, but then because it's in a fucking widescreen window, so I'll just have to do it here instead. That's fine. Transform. Fits. Sure. Okay. Let me see if I can update this on the YouTube side, because we are not doing. Oh God, is it not letting me go? Edit page. Gaming. Okay, I love how it says that Star Fox 2 came out in 2017, even though it's from fucking 1997. Send it to that. Because, you know, I feel like if I can learn to navigate. There you go. It's my stupid retro stuff, and now we can actually do things. Making sure it actually appears in the thing. And stop that music, because... Oh, game sound also needs to be there, which... Oh, surprisingly it is working! Okay, it's just loud. My apologies. Also, I think the sound is coming through without actually... Okay. You're just being like that, then. That's weird. It's just being... What? Oh, it's capturing the fucking window capture. Okay. Sure. We'll do that. We'll play it your way. Doing it in a small little window, because... What the fuck is scaling? Play it loud in my favorite emulator. RetroArch. RetroArch is everyone's favorite emulator. I've already played this before, but that's basically just so I can unlock the highest difficulty for this. I actually needed to get a little bit of footage from Star Fox 2, so it just happened to work out. And just to note, I have a 6-year-old HP laptop with a shit ton of data, so the safer the better for me. Is there a way to just transfer files into Linux without any issues? Don't use NTFS. That's kind of it. Anyways, thanks for the insight, everyone. That's fantastic. This hard because I have played this game enough that I am just used to it. Also, I may have left the overclocks on, didn't I? Or is it just because it's an emulator and it's going naturally a little bit faster than normal hardware? Probably that. I wouldn't be surprised. Still the same controls. Good.
Good luck.
But at least now we can actually do some fucking Linux gaming on the Linux gaming channel. And it is just not even playing current games. Because current games kind of suck. Am I right on that? Is that a lot of current games really do just kind of suck nowadays? Don't leave me hanging here, chat, with this. I don't want to feel alone. Validation, please. I may have still left the fucking hacks on for this, which would be really annoying. Because it's definitely going a little bit faster than it's supposed to. Ow. Why is there a fucking Gordo in space? I don't know how I managed to do that. The first fucking enemy and they just left. Because, you know, play video games correctly. A lot of AAA games suck nowadays. They really do! Isn't there been something going on about Ubisoft lately and their new Star Wars thing, which everyone really hates? Now, that being said, actually, since we are talking about Ubisoft, and current games, is that I am very much in support of the recent movement of the Stop Killing Games thing that's going on. God damn it. I feel like everyone should be able to support that. Assuming that you actually can, that you actually come into possession of the crew anyways. If you happen to be in possession of the crew from, what is it, 2016, I believe it was, that would be extremely useful so that we can actually get some legislation going on so that publishers will stop trying to kill games. Also, this is incredibly sensitive. That's okay. I'm usually good at this game, I promise! But yeah, stop killing games. I feel like that should kind of go without saying, is that we shouldn't need to be saying that, but apparently we have to. As that happened again. Yay. I think there are some overclocks going on, so I'm just gonna see if I can turn that off real quick. Yes, there is. Oops. Thanking Steam for that definition. Current games are better in the AAA scene. Oh, right. It's that recent movement from, like, the indie developers, I believe, We just decided to team up and we're like, oh, we're just gonna do our own thing. I just realized that thing charged up. I could have just avoided this battle. We're just gonna do it anyways. Ah, yes, the 10 frames per second Star Fox experience. This is why I play video. This is what I come to play video games for. We can barely see what you're doing, but it's more controllable. Making steam for that definition. Hello, Bruno, who was, I guess, on DSL, not cable. We are playing some Star Fox Dukes. The faxing. Stairfax. With the attack of the... What the fuck even is this? Just fuck this. Yeah, so it looks like I might be doing terribly, but the thing is, for whatever reason, especially in Star Fox 2, your control, you have a lot of oversteer. Is the best way to put it. So, like, even when you tap the D-pad even just a little bit, your ship will turn, like, really quite far, and the response is kind of delayed, which is exactly why you want to have the slowdown. Because it'll actually allow you to see what's happening and react to it faster, despite the game running slower. It's one of those types of games. If this was a PC game, we would call this a terrible port, because the physics of the game logic is tied to the frame rate, but, well, this is Super Nintendo, so that's why. It's kind of annoying. Meh. Oh yeah, despite there being this whole entire outer space for the battleships, you just kind of have to just go forward. It just does the work for you. But it looks so cool! There's actually a coin in here, right? Yeah. Fucking hiding behind the firewall. I'm usually not that much of a Nintendo fan, but I just happen to think that the Star Fox games are probably my favorite, like, Nintendo franchise of the bunch. I think that's just because of the fact that they're the closest thing to arcade-like experiences, which are the types of games that I grew up with personally. Like, I grew up with a lot of Namco titles, particularly, so this really fits well for me. And it just happens to be that Star Fox is also one of the franchises that gets the shit end of the stick, alongside F-Zero. Which, you know, that sucks. Why the fuck are you giving me this problem? Thank you. Wow. I mean, I know this is the highest difficulty I chose on purpose, but it's not supposed to be that hard. It's not even hard, it's just it takes a while. Ow. Doesn't Star Fox 64 control the same? Not as fidgety. Star Fox 64 actually has a frame rate. That's the main difference. Star Fox 2 does not, and neither does Star Fox 1. But they're also kind of built around not having a frame rate, which is what makes it... It makes it enjoyable in that nostalgic sense if you actually appreciate this kind of thing. Although, when your frame rate is constantly lower than the double digits, then, you know, it's an acquired taste. Yes, there's definitely more than a couple of games that have problems with that kind of frame. Yakuza 3 to 5 have physics tied to the frame rate? What? Like, Sega usually better than that. Oh my god. Yakuza, I expect better from Sega to have that problem. That's so crazy. Ow. I think there's something still chasing me from behind. I'm just gonna ignore it as much as possible. If you ignore it, it just doesn't exist. I know there's the glowing target icon. God damn it. This is one of those you have to push it. Oh my god. This is a Tails game, alright. We're playing Symphonia, boys. Pushing blocks. We be pushing blocks, boys. Somehow that's still less tedious than Symphonia. Ow. That's what I get for bashing Symphonia. Oh god, they're above a healing pad. I need that desperately right now. That's bad. All GTA games before 5 had physics tied to the FPS, to the point having the game capped at 30 FPS was required for speedruns. So, I know that's definitely a problem for the classic trilogy, especially GTA 3. Like, my god, trying to play GTA 3 with the frame rate uncapped is like, you just walk 5 steps forward, and then you just immediately die. Because you teleported to, like, the end of the street and, like, fell into the lake, or you got hit by a car that you didn't notice because the game processed that faster than you could see. That is the whole most hilarious shit, honestly. But I also have a fondness for GTA 3 personally. I don't remember that being the case of GTA 4, though. I feel like that wasn't as much of a problem with 4. I'm also biased because I happen to prefer 4 over 5. I don't know why. I just happen to, like... I don't know. I just happen to like the characters in the plot of 4 a little bit more and just think it's a better, slightly more focused experience, I suppose. I had Tales of Arise for 2 years. Haven't played it. You know what? Same! I actually have a friend who gifted me Arise quite a while ago because he knew I was a massive Tales nut. And, I've had that setting for a while, and I have yet to actually play it. Also, this motherfucker. Where the fuck did this thing go? Oh, there it is. It's just running away. Why are you running away? Why are you running? The thing, this is just going backwards. Fucking pulling its best Donkey Kong impression. That's stupid. Well, no wonder this game didn't get released until 2017. I expected Sega. I also expected better from Sega than the last Sonic game. Oh, no. Oh, wait. Last game is Superstars. Superstars has problems. Yeah. Unless you meant to say Frontiers, in which case I actually do really like Frontiers, personally. Superstars has a lot of problems, though. Just speaking, because I was actually kind of excited for Superstars. I was quite excited for Superstars when I was coming out, but then when I saw that the bosses in Superstars not only didn't seem to learn anything from Sonic 4, it was worse in a lot of ways than Sonic 4. And I'm like, are you fucking serious? You really made the same mistakes? Oh, fuck. I have to deal with the cannon getting a parasite. God damn it. Good timing, I guess. I have bombs. I'm just gonna not bother. That didn't help. There you go. We cleaned it. We cleaned the thing off of nondescriptus parasitus. I'm trying to push myself through the slow beginning of Persona 3 because it's supposed to have one of the best stories. You know what? I would probably trust Persona 3 to be the better game. I have a long history with Persona. And I'm not exactly sure it's going to be the most popular take, but here I go again. My personal history is I used to be one of the fools who had a PlayStation Vita. Yes, I know, the Vita. I do genuinely think that the Vita is actually one of my favorite handhelds that came out. In fact, I have one right here. It's such an adorable little thing, even though it barely gets used. So I had a Vita. And, of course, one of the things that people wouldn't help but simp over relentlessly was Persona 4 Golden. Persona 4 Golden is the best game on the system. Why do you have a Vita and not have Persona 4 Golden? You know, play P4, play P4. And I didn't know what to expect from it. I wasn't that big of a fan of RPGs at the time. And yeah, I didn't really know what to expect, but the Vita, when this was like in 2012, and the Vita in 2012 didn't exactly have... It was kind of slim pickings for the thing, unfortunately. It got... I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die right now. Where the fuck is this thing? Fucking die already, god damn it. I have no idea how I didn't die there. So, anyways, so I had the Vita, and Persona 4, when it came out in late 2012, I believe, it was the game that people who had a Vita wouldn't stop simping over. Everyone said to play it. And me personally, when I eventually got to Persona 4, you know, I kind of liked it for a time, but I honestly didn't think a whole lot of it. I'm not saying it was a bad game, I was just thinking that, oh, it's just kind of like most RPGs. Then, at a certain point, you get to Shadow Teddy. Shadow Teddy is this really funny boss, where one of its particular unique moves is that he will essentially cause like a party wipe move, essentially, where essentially you have to block to actually like properly defend against. Like you actually have to use the defend command, which in RPGs up to this point I never defended. Oh god. I didn't know though that was how you're supposed to get past that moment. So I got to Shadow Teddy and died. I tried it again on like the second, the third, the fourth time. By the way, when you actually get to this point, it's actually 2 bosses. So Shadow Teddy is only like the second of like of essentially a 2-boss streak at that point in the game. But every time I would have to go through the same 2 bosses, and then when it got to that, when he did that specific fucking move, I just didn't know how to react because I was a stupid kid. And it frustrated me so much to the point that I just dropped the game. I just completely dropped P4 at that point. Now, I still had it for some reason. I think it was just like at that time, the refund period probably was long over, I think, because I think I had that game for like a couple months by now. But eventually at some point I managed to, like, my circle of friends, we kind of had this like Persona roleplay thing going on back when this was actually a thing that you did on Twitter of all things. But when they were going on about Persona stuff again, I was kind of reluctant to admit that that's where I stopped with P4, which is why I kind of had a bit of resentment for that game. But eventually they convinced me that, oh yeah, you idiot, you're just supposed to fucking use the block command. Are you really a baby? You don't know how to block, you stupid idiot. So, taking that advice to I took that advice to heart, and once I learned the magic of the defend command and actually got past that point in the game, I managed to actually finish the rest of the game, and in fact actually got the 100% ending for it. Well, the golden ending specifically, sorry. I don't think I did everything in that game, but, you know, I did enough to at least get the true ending of Persona 4 Golden. To this day, I still kind of have a bit of resentment for that game, because after all of, like, the hullabaloo, and even after I got past the blocker moment for me, I don't know, it's an RPG. And after this point, I'd already started playing, like, Tales of Xillia. Oh god, what the fuck is this going on? Yeah, just take it. Just take the loss on one. It's like, to this day, I still don't think much about Persona. Now, I don't have the same outright resentment that I'd had for P4 back then. You know, now it's just like, oh, it's a game. You know, if you like it, good for you. I already know that I have my particular preferences with, say, Tales games, for example, so I don't try to judge other people for liking Persona. I hear P5 is pretty good. I know that P3 has much more of an engaging story than Persona 4. But I don't know, it's just gonna be a while before I can really bring myself to kind of go back and into Persona, when I don't know, just the specific history with the game just kind of left a sour note at me. And it's a stupid mindset to have, but enemy missiles are a real pain in the ass. Alright, oh, I got the ammo. Cool. U-turn! Fuck. The Vita had a lot of things going for it. Sadly, it was developed by Sony. Oh, I didn't realize I actually played a special theme for when you're in the deep shit. Okay. The Vita had a lot of good things going for it. Sadly, it was developed by Sony, which clearly thought they needed some sort of sequel to the PSP Go after doing so, well, up until the PSP 3000. So, yeah. Sony, I definitely still resent them a lot for what they did to the PSP, to the Vita. Sony messed up a lot, and I just think that Sony made so many of the wrong moves, and essentially the point that when they essentially dropped the Vita in the favor of the PS4, when the Vita was starting to do so well, that was the point I decided to just stop supporting Sony as a whole. So I haven't bought a single Sony anything since the Vita. And I have no problems admitting that. Fuck Sony. Although the PC Games Initiative from them has actually been really cool. So I'm willing to play some of the games on PC, but I am not buying another piece of Sony hardware. God damn it. Fucking Leon here's a goddamn Sony fanboy. That's exactly what he's a bully. Even though he's not actually. The Vita had a chance. You could have done something with it. Unfortunately, this fucker likes to deflect all fucking charge shots I send. Ow. And they're so hard to hit without homing. Thank you. Jesus. Oh, Zilia. I only bought the PS3 for that game alone. Tales of Zilia, I think, is still probably... I'm not gonna say the best, but it's still probably my favorite. Oh, come on. I've already dealt with enough shit as it is. Stop! Oh, no! Oh, this might actually end up in failure, boys. Oh, no. Unless I've been going on for a while at this point. God damn it. Cilia is generally very good. So, I wouldn't say it's the best, but I'd say it's probably like one of the comfiest Tales games experiences, short of Tales of the Abyss. I think Tales of the Abyss is a very comfy first Tales game, followed by Zilia. And I say after that, Vesperia is probably one of the like genuine best games. I generally have a lot of fondness for Tales of Legendia, and that's not just because Go Shina, the Demon Slayer composer, actually got his start for composing music from Tales of Legendia. And if you've listened to any of Go Shina's tracks, that man knows how to fucking make bops. Like, he never misses. And Tales of Legendia soundtrack is fucking legendary for that reason. Game itself is kind of mid in some ways, to be honest, but I appreciate a lot about Legendia personally. But that's just me. Abyss is not on PC. Abyss currently only has releases on the PS2, which is probably the best way to play it, and the Nintendo 3DS port. The 3DS port has some bug fixes because Tales of the Abyss on PS2 is kind of unfinished in some ways. But the 3DS port runs at 30 FPS, and playing Tales games at 30 FPS is a fucking crime. I'm sorry. I still kind of resent Tales of Symphonia ports for never playing anywhere near as well as the GameCube original, which ran at 60 frames per second. Although I sure wish that Abyss kind of had like a newer re-release or like some kind of remake. But I also do generally think there are probably other Tales games that probably better deserve the remake treatment than Abyss. Certainly more than Symphonia, and it's like 50 gajillion versions, which all of them somehow are worse than the GameCube original. Beyond me. But hey, that's just me. That's just a theory. A game theory. Or a Tales theory, I guess. Oh, thank God.
But I wanted I saw
only...
you were live, and I'm like, oh man, I gotta finish SmackDown.
Oh, hello, random voice in my head. I'm in deep.
Do I sound okay?
You do. Can you hear me at all?
Yes, I can hear you. I
Okay,
don't know if
good.
it's delayed, but I think
I just have to bump up your chat audio a bit.
I'm gonna try rejoining and see, because I think I might be a little lagged. I'll try to come back in 1 sec.
Okay then, sure.
Okay.
What the hell's going on? You need to play the PS2 version for the original frustrating experience, just because. I'm assuming that's talking about Abyss, in which case, yeah. Abyss has some technical qualities. Let's just say it's not exactly polished, but then again, neither was many of the PS2 Tales games. I think I might be fucked. Just barely not okay. God damn it. I think there's probably some other comments here about Vita stuff. So, I'm sure P4 is generally good. I'm sure P5 is generally good. At some point, maybe I'll work up the courage to play, oh god, 2 bosses in a row. Oh no. Oh no, I'm fucked, Spyro. Okay, gotta take care of 2 bosses in a row. Great. God damn it. So this fucker moves 3 times and then opens itself up and just fires fucking lasers. Ow. I should be able to fucking barrel roll through them, but the barrel roll barely works. Great. That's fantastic. Oh god damn it. It just wasted my time. This is wasting my time. Oh, you fucker! I've never seen this happen. Don't tell me I have to 3-cycle this or something. Some bullshit like that. I hate it. Ow! Are you fucking kidding me? This fucker, he just keeps running. Why are you running? What is this bullshit? Wow, I just got the worst luck. Oh, so there's P5 Strikers at least, which, if I remember correctly, Strikers is the Dynasty Warriors game? Oh no, that's Scramble. Fuck, there's like 5 different P5 related games. So it's hard to tell. Okay. Fuck you. Every time I go after it, it's just wasting my time. And there's missiles. Wow, this is awful. But man, this is back in the day when games actually fucking challenged you, man. It's rad. Oh, and I'm dead. Womp womp. Okay, to be fair, I do have Wingman. But Falco also only has a single hit of life left. And there's missiles. And I can't exit, and I'm dead. I'm not making it. And... oh my god, I actually got the... holy shit, I actually got the Corneria destruction ending. That's... wow. That's grim. To think that this is a mid-90s Nintendo game, of all things. Wow. Oof. That was awful. Womp womp. The first Argonaut to cancel. Oh god, why? You know, I swear I've played this on Expert before, but I don't remember it giving me that much problem. That much of a problem like that. Like, wow. Who the fuck designed this? Paris? Oh god. Headphones. Shit. I would probably start this over again, but it is getting late. I have been streaming now for about 2.5 hours. So I think it's about as good a time as any to probably call it for the night. In that case, thanks to Redding and to Bruno on DSL and to Kless and to Ren and to everyone else who has joined for this weird, stupid stream. It has been really fun, and I really do want to try to be making more of these kind of semi-relaxing streams, I guess, to kind of shoot the shit, because I have been very inactive in terms of like actually making videos, but I do swear those are coming, and I am very much still working very hard to get the Proton video out, hopefully by the end of the month. We'll see. Don't actually put me to that though, because you know, people who ask for videos and demand they come out at a certain time are just like the worst kind of people. So with all that said, hopefully everyone has enjoyed this time together. I will be posting a update soon on project stuff on the Ko-Fi, probably at some point tomorrow night. But with all that said, hope you've enjoyed. Remember to something sign out. Support the channel if you want. And I can't believe I'm actually forgetting what my lines are. So, you know, that said, thanks for coming, and see you all in the next one.